After years of rancorous division, Australia will have a carbon tax. The government's clean energy bills passed the Senate today. The Climate Change Minister, Greg Combet, spoke with political editor Chris Uhlmann earlier, and we'll hear from him shortly. But first, a landmark day in federal politics.
We need to take a stronger line in defending and protecting Australia's national economic interest in relation to climate change.
A major political party must have a credible policy on climate change.
We tried 3 times to get an emissions trading scheme through this parliament, although we failed.
It has been a long path to this day.
The capricious winds of the climate change debate have exacted a heavy toll on Australian politics. It's claimed 3 leaders and the body count might not be complete. But today the parliamentary bluster ended.
The matter is resolved in the affirmative.
A suite of bills setting up a carbon price has passed the Senate.
This is an historic moment.
This is an infamous day.
It was a battle all the way to the end.
It's absurd to believe that this will do anything to the temperature of the globe. Absolutely absurd.
The people of Australia voted at the last election for a power-sharing parliament, and I know that the coalition can't cope with that.
The vote today will haunt every single Labor member and senator all the way to the next election.
A reform which represents a clear divide in politics in this country between those who look to the future, and those who are mired in the fear campaigns of today.
And the victory has many parents.
It's a green letter day, but it's one that will echo down the ages.
And finally make the transition to a renewable powered economy, which of course is very exciting.
This is one of the great Labor reforms on a par with the floating of the exchange rate, the bringing down of the tariff wall, or the introduction of compulsory superannuation.
The defeated will fight on.
We as a coalition will be seeking a mandate from the Australian people at the next election to repeal the legislation.
This is a win for the Prime Minister, who managed to land a deal in a deeply divided Parliament.
The reason that this legislation is passing is because the PM is as tough as nails.
Whether toughness or today's win will turn the electorate is a story that has a long way to run. But the Prime Minister's had a good couple of weeks, and that's reflected in better polling.
Today's vote is a win for Australia's children. It's a win for those who will seek their fortune and make their way by having jobs in our clean energy sector.
Julia Gillard's slightly improving fortunes will dampen leadership speculation, but it won't disappear as long as there's something to fuel it. And it bobs up in the strangest places, like the curious case of the Australia Network tender.
Will you acknowledge that the decision to put the Australia Network out to tender in the first place was a mistake?
The Gillard government, Mr President, is extremely disappointed that the tender process was compromised by leaks. This was a significant commercial contract involving up to $223.1 million of taxpayers' money, and it was important that both Cabinet and the general public could have confidence in the process.
The Australia Network broadcasts into 44 countries across the Asia-Pacific. It's run by the ABC, but financed by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Foreign Minister Kevin Rudd put the 10-year contract out to tender. The ABC bid, so did Sky, which is part-owned by News Corporation. The results have never been released, but a series of leaks point to Sky winning the tender twice.
This is why the Gillard government have called in the Australian Federal Police to investigate the leaks which have necessitated the termination of the tender process.
All this is woven into leadership manoeuvring because some in Labor believe the Foreign Minister wanted to curry favour with News Corporation. Throw in much of the rest of Cabinet's distaste for news, and this story is a witch's brew of intrigue.
This tender, which should have been done rigorously, with complete probity and integrity, has fallen foul of vicious infighting within the government between Kevin Rudd's office, Julia Gillard's office and Stephen Conroy's office. The animosity between these players is so intense that you've seen all this strategic leaking designed to advance the interests of one or the other.
But the machinations of this internal brawl won't echo much beyond the walls of Parliament. The big news today was the passage of the carbon tax. It was a vote heard round the world, but the argument won't end here.
It is not a defeat, it's an adjournment to the next episode.
Because these days in Canberra, even talking about the weather is an invitation to fight.
Even the heavens are clapping.
That impending storm is a sign of things to come. Here it goes.